Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Cedar Falls Board of Education with a reminder that the actions taken at this table will focus on our students and their achievement. With that, I'm going to move on to item B on the agenda, which is the public hearing. I have in my possession an affidavit of publication showing that the notice of time and place of hearing for the proposed school budget summary for fiscal year 2018-2019. This notice was published in the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier on March 28, 2017. The board will now hold a hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come to the microphone for public comment? All right, if not, I'm going to close this hearing. Thank you. Moving on now to item C, again, another public hearing for the school budget 2017-2018 amendment. I have in my possession an affidavit of publication showing that the notice of time and place of hearing for the proposed school budget amendment for fiscal year 2017-2018. This notice was published in the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier on March 28, 2018. The board will now hold a hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to step to the mic to talk about the budget amendment? Hearing none, I will close the hearing. Moving on now to the consent agenda. Item D on the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved by Susie. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Sasha. Any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda has been approved. Motion carried. Moving on now to public comment. Item E on the agenda. We have had no public comment at this time, or no request. Item F on the agenda is communications. Arlo, if you'd like to come up and give the student report.
Hi everyone.
Arlo.
So Student Senate has two events coming up in the next 2 weeks that I'm excited to share some more about. So on Saturday, April 21st, the Do Better Be Better 5K will be held at 8:30 a.m. in Dunkerton. So for anyone who doesn't know, Do Better Be Better is an organization that was created by one of the gym teachers at the high school, Jamie Smith. And each year they give an academic scholarship to a student from CF and a student from Dunkerton, and so this race helps to give some money to those scholarships. Our Student Senate, as well as the Dunkerton Student Senate, will be working at this race. It's a color run. It's always a lot of fun. If anyone in the community is interested in running in this race, there's more information about the sign up on the Do Better Be Better Facebook page. Student Senate has also gotten official approval to do the campus-wide cleanup on Earth Day. So we, along with anyone else in the school community that is interested, will be spread out in areas around the high school, and we will pick up anything that we see that shouldn't be there, and hopefully we'll have better April weather for that, but hopefully that should be a fun day and we can clean up our campus, and that'll be nice. Senior leadership is also holding their senior prom at Bickford Cottages. So this is an event where the seniors all get dressed up in their prom attire and they go dance and speak and eat food with the residents, and that should be really lovely as well. And one last cool thing that's happening this week that I actually just found out about is that students will have the option to attend a speech from someone named John Register, who is an Olympic athlete who ended up losing his leg and then went on to take second place at the Paralympic Games. So he'll be speaking in the auditorium about motivation and dealing with adversity, and that should be something really cool for the students to be able to hear. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Arlo? Thank you for sharing that information with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the CAPS program. Mark.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the board for this opportunity for the CAPS Communication Design Strand. We are stationed out of Millrace, downtown off of State Street. As you can see on our presentation here, we've had 2 semesters of the Communication Design Strand. We're one of the relatively new strands in the CAPS program. On your left, you'll see the program from the fall. We were missing one of our associates at that particular picture, but we had 7 associates in our fall semester, and on the right side you'll see our spring semester, which we were missing another person in that picture as well. But that is our group picture, our team picture there. Those logos that you see on top of those pictures are, each semester we start off with just talking about how to brand yourself and how to do branding and logoing and stuff like that. So the kids or the associates get together and kind of make a logo for that particular semester. And so it's part of our Twitter page and all that kind of stuff to kind of get the kids wanting to be out there and into the social media and stuff. Let's see, which one do I hit?
Here, I got it, Mark.
You got it? Okay. Here is a slide of some of the clients that we've helped so far this year, both the fall and the spring semester. As you can see, the CFU, Cedar Falls Utilities, is one that we're going to have one of our associates come and talk to you about here in a little bit. We've helped the Cedar Valley Family STEM Festival with a promotional video. We had one of our associates approach Cedar Falls Community Credit Union on like a passion project where they help them blog some stuff out for hoping to draw some younger clients to their bank and stuff that way. So Cedar Falls, the city of Cedar Falls, we've done a couple projects for them. Sidecar Coffee, we've done a promotional video for them that you may have seen on Twitter lately, and I think they're going to be putting out more. Mud Advertising, we are working with right now, and we're going to have another associate speak with you a little bit later on some of that. One of the newest projects we have was Cedar Valley Victors. It is a project that is kind of a new thing for the Senior Olympics and stuff, and then Omega Cabinetry. So there's a couple logos of the companies that we've been working with. Here in the next one, you can kind of see, in our particular program, we have like 3 tiers of projects that we can be doing. Obviously, there's client projects that I go out and try to accumulate over the summer and throughout the semester and everything that the associates can choose from. Then we have CAPS projects that go on all year long that we just have them do throughout the whole semester to build on their skills that they have. And then the passion projects are the things that they kind of look for themselves. So as you can see in the passion projects, we've helped with the Cedar Falls wrestling website, that blog thing again. We have one of our associates this semester that's really interested in politics that could be working with the Thomas Heckroth campaign that he is having right now for I think he's going for Congress for Iowa. So, and the last slide I have here today kind of just goes back to our 4 cornerstones of CAPS. I believe all 3 are the other two. The other 2 instructors and myself believe these are the things that the CAPS kids want to get out of this: is problem solving. We do that through client projects, innovative thinking through brands and resumes and interviews, career exploration through job shadows and interest interviews, and then professional skills, communication skills, written, oral, nonverbal communication skills, running meetings, and then as well as interviewing with other professionals in the area and everything. So right now I have a couple associates with me. The first associate is going to be Lizzie Honeymiller. She's going to talk to you a little bit about some projects she's on, and then Casey Leeper is going to talk to you, and then the last speaker today on our behalf is going to be Danny Laudick. He is our executive director at Millrace that's going to talk about our partnership with that particular entity.
What's going on, guys? Casey Leeper. I recognize a lot of you guys. Yes, that was my mom right there. Dan Conrad, I recognize that name. Allie. Adrian Talbert, I actually used to ref soccer with you. I don't know if you remember me, but yeah, well, I'm Casey Leeper. I'm in the communication design program, obviously. Me and Parker Anderson, a friend of mine, we're working on the Mud Advertising project, and that's really one of the bigger projects of the program. And I mean, we're doing some big stuff for them. Anybody could really tell you what we're doing with them. But I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this. Arrow point.
Slide up, yeah.
Yeah, but that thing on the right there, it really started with that. That's how we started the project. So we kind of set up a roadmap of what we wanted to do. And newly graduated college student, that's who they wanted to hire. Then we had to direct them to the MUD website because that's where they want us to design. Actually, we're starting that right now. We had a meeting with Scott Palmer today. He's one of the leaders over at the Walkie Apex program. I don't know if any of you guys know him, but he's a really smart guy. And he's helping us with stuff on the web design aspect of things. And yeah. So WordPress is the program we're using, and we kind of invested some money into Divi. That's another program we want to use. But I mean, if we have demo days to tell you about the projects we're doing. So if you guys really want to hear more about that, then I mean, you can come to those. But anybody can tell you about the project we're doing. I kind of wanted to give you an aspect of, you know, what the students are feeling about the project and what we could do better, and like what we should be investing money into. One great thing about CAPS, the communication design program, is that we're at Millrace. Danny Laudig has been a huge help to us, obviously, this year. He always makes sure we have all the resources we need. And then there's a lady named Suzanne Hoffner. She works with a marketing firm in New York, and she helped me and Parker really kind of determine how we're going to reach our audience and what kind of design we want to go with to really bring the younger people to MUD, get them to apply. One thing we did was start a social media page, and we started that last week actually, and it gained 50 followers in about 4 days. I mean, it's doing some big things, I mean, because that's going to help really get people who are not on, I mean, LinkedIn and Indeed, stuff like that, to MUD advertising. Yeah, but being at Millrace, that's really the biggest thing I want to talk about. I don't know what you guys have planned for CAPS in the future in terms of location, but I mean, we really need to utilize where we have CAPS, you know what I mean? Like, one example of what not to do, I feel like, with CAPS, well, I used to do broadcast journalism, and I went and did a story on the robotics team, and they're kind of putting some hole-in-the-wall like building off like Hudson University. And I mean, they're just not really utilized there, and the building is not utilized at all. And being at CAPS, like, one thing that has helped so much, if we were just in some building with no one working there, no one with a wealth of knowledge, then I mean, it wouldn't help us at all. But being at Millrace, I have 4 people down right here that have helped us a ton with the project and like help us take the next step towards actually bringing people to MUD and doing real work. But yeah, I mean, that's really the main thing I wanted to accomplish. I hope you guys take that into consideration. And thanks for letting me speak to you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lizzie Honeymiller, and my first project that I'm a project leader on is actually called Connect CF, and CF Schools has partnered with CFU to raise money so that less fortunate families can have internet access at home for a very cheaper cost. And we are about 3 months in, and I have to say that this program has come a really long way, because in the beginning, they kind of thought it was going to be super easy to have a bunch of teenagers raise a bunch of money, and it's kind of turned into this thing where I have found out that dealing with money isn't my favorite thing, but knowing that I'm going to be helping about 110 families in grades 7th through 12th has really impacted me, and I'm really proud of that. And then in that picture right there is me and Zoe Langen, who I have to say has kind of been my partner in crime throughout this project, and that is us flaunting our first donation that we got from Dalton. And we would also like to thank the rest of our sponsors. I think there's about 10 of them, so yeah. So we'd like to thank them for all that they've done for us, and not only just CFU, but Diane Flaherty at the high school has really helped us with our pitches, and all of our directors like Mark and Maria Perez and Ethan Weekman. I just have to say thank you to them, because without them, I don't think that we would have been able to do what we're doing right now. I'm so sorry. You're okay. And then I'm also a part of the project for the Cedar Valley Victors. And what this is we're trying to have the first ever Cedar Valley team wearing T-shirts that just say that they're proud to be a Victor at the summer 2018 Iowa Senior Games. And basically what this is about is we're trying to improve the health and the wellness of the seniors in our community, and we're also trying to give them something to be proud of, because throughout probably all of their high school careers they were involved in sports and they were always a part of a team, and then once you go on and you retire you don't really have that anymore. So we're trying to kind of bring that back, and then also besides dominating and hopefully winning a lot of competitions, along the way we hope that people understand and just see the bigger picture of this, where it's to get everyone involved and be active, because that's super important, not just physically but emotionally and mentally. It is so critical. And to get the word out, we have made T-shirts, flyers, a website, a Facebook, a logo, and we have been going to so many meetings. Glennis Worthington is the head founder of this, and we have been going to so many meetings and we've been working really, really hard. And we have to thank the YMCA and the Rec Center for their good listening to our very small idea that we're trying to make huge, because no one's ever done this before. So yeah, so thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks everyone for having us come in. And so first thing I really wanted to say, I should say I'm Danny Lawlick, Executive Director of Millrace Coworking, downtown Cedar Falls. And so I first want to say it really has been a pleasure having the students, Mark, and the whole team in there. And that's not me saying that. We actually do have a community board of the members who meet once a month just to kind of ask, how's everything going? What can we improve on? Get their feedback, especially in a shared space. You know, work is a priority. People need to be productive. So we always want to ask, you know, is anyone being a distraction? Or are things too loud, too much conversation? And everyone actually said, nope, the students bring a lot of energy to the space, the associates, excuse me, bring a lot of energy to the space, so everything's worked out really beneficially. We've iterated through the year. We realized at first we wanted to try and see, can we connect students with the entrepreneurs in the space, people working on companies for projects? And then you realize pretty quickly, entrepreneurs, everything on their list is a high priority. There's nothing they're willing to really offload easily. And you ask them, like, well, how about the 30th thing on your list? And you realize the 30th thing is still high priority. And so we actually we've been talking today the last couple of weeks and shifting, not just asking them for projects, what can you have the students work on, but also shifting it more to how can we use the people working there as mentors? Because a lot of the people in there right now are going through the process of building a new company, starting a new product. So they're kind of in the same place that a lot of the CAPS associates are at, where they're trying to create something new, work with businesses, clientele. So we're kind of shifting the focus of really utilizing the people working there as mentors more than as clients. And so again, this is the same thing they teach in the program. You have to iterate, test, see what works. And so I just wanted to come and say it's been hugely beneficial as a student who grew up in Cedar Falls, went through Cedar Falls High School. It's the type of opportunity I would have really loved to have. I don't know if back then I would have said I would have loved to have it, but now that I'm in what we do now and seeing how much value, Millrace was kind of founded on the tenet that you learn faster from people that are doing it, from being around others who are building businesses, growing new products, and having the associates have the chance to be hands-on. When they do their demo days, we've had up to 5 people sitting in, listening to it, watching, and these are people that I would professionally sit down with and ask for advice if I had anything I was working on. And they actually sit there and critically listen to what they're doing and give feedback. So to see that type of interaction between them it's one of those unexpected things. When we start a co-working space, you don't think someday we'll get students in here and help them interact with entrepreneurs and business people. But it's been nice to see that type of interaction happen. And so thanks to you guys for having the vision and leadership to implement something like that in the schools. And appreciate it.
Thank you for being a part of it. Mark?
So in conclusion, it's just been a fun time for me. This is my first year with the CAPS program. This is my 3rd year with Cedar Falls High School. So I've loved the experience. It's been kind of a tough time. I'm also the co-op coordinator, facilitator at the high school, and the DECA advisor, so I'm kind of stretched a little thin on some of those things, but I'm sure as time goes on, I'll learn everything as we go through and stuff that way. So are there any questions for me?
I just wanted to make a note that the Cedar Valley Victors is for 50 plus. So I think a lot of us could possibly participate in that. Jeff, you're too young. But
Which of those do you think can participate?
I think we'll save that for another time.
That'll be closed session.
No, that was one of those projects that just kind of come on board, and it was just a really fun project to see how it's grown so much and how they've really taken it and gone with it and stuff. And hopefully it's something successful, and across the state of Iowa, you'll see other areas like Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, all those other cities that get their own little teams together so they can compete as a team as opposed to just an individual.
Well, and I just want to share a great interaction I had. I was at Urban Pie in this past week, and one of the professionals who works at Millrace and lives at Millrace and has been interacting with our associates stopped and was asking me, about the program and if we plan to stay there, and really strongly encouraged us to try and keep the program there, or at least some aspect of it, because he was loving the interaction he was having with our students. And I think he would agree that the mentoring piece was really, he talked about it and he said, I didn't want to overstep too much or advise too much. I'm like, overstep, advise. That's what the kids are there for. So it was unsolicited and just something that is being talked about out and about in the community. So those are the great stories that are really selling the program for us. So
we can't thank Millrace enough as a community partner and the work that they do to help support our associates, our students, and our program. So great job.
And I was going to ask Lizzie and Casey, are you able to share what you've experienced with others? So if students that aren't in CAPS right now would ask you about it, are you able to communicate that positive experience that you're having?
Actually, Ethan Wakeman, one of his biggest things that he wants us to do is have like a 30 seconds CAPS pitch, and like how we're going to explain to people, and we all kind of got that down. We're supposed to have that down. We all got that pretty much.
That's one of our weekly things when we do stand-ups and stuff like that. We try to incorporate that into our weekly stand-ups or daily stand-ups where they have to maybe give a pitch to someone. We pretend we're parents that are asking questions, maybe other board members or other students. So we try to give them a situation, a role play type place.
Okay.
And would you in the future, like if you had a student who said, my mom's trying to talk me into doing CAPS and I'm really fighting her on it, would you say you'll be glad you took your mom's advice and did it? Is that what you would say?
Casey, you might need to come to the microphone.
That's right. You really should come and speak up for this part. But and if you do want to speak, you should come up just so everybody can hear you.
It's not. I know you're thinking Millrace and it's really good thing that they help us with it, but it's not only beneficial just for the students. I'm saying that seriously. We've put people in contact who work at Millrace, in contact with the companies we're working with, and they wouldn't have that avenue if it weren't for us, and we wouldn't have avenues if it weren't for them. So it's a two-way thing. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
And moms are always right.
Thank you.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you
job.
for being
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Very good. Janelle.
Yeah, I'm up next. There is a lot happening in our district, so I'll get right to our communications update real quick. First thing we just wanted to talk about and mention is our Rocket Club. They were in Huntsville, Alabama this past weekend. Those photos are not from Huntsville, Alabama, although you may think it could be the way the weather's been. But that was actually when they did a test launch up in Minnesota earlier, I think in February. But Zeb Nicholson, who is the advisor for that group, he sent me an email that I thought was some really interesting info about the results. And he was explaining how the results for the high school are a lot different versus the university side of things, because there were a lot of university teams that were there as part of the competition as well. And the universities compete for first, second, and third place with the actual rocket launch, but with the high schools, they were competing against other high schools for awards that were the best rocket fair display and the Judges' Choice Award, which was really exciting to see. But yesterday, they announced that Cedar Falls High School was awarded both of those. And they really feel like the biggest takeaway was winning the Judges' Choice Award, because that's the only award that's not voted on by peer groups. So that was given by the NASA officials and engineers and then some guest judges from the sponsors. And they did not realize it, but after the fact realized that it was based on most professionalism, given the best design review reports, presentations throughout the year, had the best designed rocket, and did the best at speaking to people about the project during the rocket fair, which was the night before the launch. So it's a really big congratulations to Zeb and then the whole team of students that were part of this whole process that they really started last fall. So congratulations to them, and there will definitely be additional information coming about that experience.
Before you move on, were they competing against those university students? Those look like a lot of, they don't look like there are a lot of high school students. There was a Boy Scout troop, but.
Yeah, they were, I think there was around 20 high school teams, if I recall. I can definitely get the correct information on that. But yeah, so they were invited to compete based on the national competition they competed in last year in DC. So based on that, I believe only 20 teams are invited to then come to NASA for the student launch.
Correct. About 15 to 20 high school teams that are, again, invited to come to this. And as we've described this at different events and just talking to different students, if you pull back up that first slide, a lot of times we think about some of the rockets that might have been launched when we were in school. These are large rockets, and you can see the two individuals that are carrying that rocket. And again, they work closely with NASA on the design and the propulsion and now, obviously, the launch, which is really exciting. And you can see the universities that were there that they worked closely with and were around. It's an amazing experience.
Janelle, real quick, I know that there was some Cedar Falls connection with NASA. There's a gentleman there, correct? And so do we anticipate there'll be any kind of continued potential for work with him or mentoring of our students since we've now made that connection? Or
we hope so, and that actually is also included within some of our CAPs, where there's a student within our CAPs that really was interested in space exploration and the work that NASA does, and we've connected those individuals together as well. So that is the hope.
That's great. Yeah, so it's a really exciting time for them, and I know a lot of work that those students put into the rocket launch. We'll move on then to the next. Steve Ventura was here last week and did some professional development with leadership in the district, and I just wanted to point out he had this great tweet where he said, when you work with educators who believe in themselves and their students, nothing is impossible. And I think coming from someone who is the level that Steve is, as far as seen as a very much leader in the education community, for him to come here and then say that by working with our staff is pretty amazing. I mean, we know it here, but then it's kind of reaffirming to be able to hear that from someone that comes in as well. We had our second Parent University taping. It's now posted on YouTube, and it will also be in the e-newsletter and on social media, but it's on learning-based grading. It has basically the presentation that Christine Mingrich and Megan Tressmer did here for the board is a lot of that same information. So trying to get that information out to the community and parents as well. So that's available to watch from the social media or the district YouTube page. And then just wanted to do a quick congratulations. We've had 3 teachers this year chosen as Teachers of the Week by 93.5. Erica Bruns from Southdale, Tammy Frown from the high school, and Joe Graff from Lincoln. So congratulations to them. And Mr. Nefsker is definitely excited about this slide. He was recognized by the Iowa School Board Officials Association last week for his years of dedication in the profession, and then also for 11 years with the district. So we always want to recognize Doug as much as possible. He does a great job and appreciate all he does, and I knew he would be so glad to see this slide recognizing
that is a pretty prestigious recognition, and next board meeting there will actually be representatives from IASBO that will be here to present a scholarship on behalf of that organization to the Cedar Falls district or a student.
So Doug can be recognized again. We just wanted to announce Troy Becker's been named the activities director for the high school. For those of you that don't know Troy, he has been with the district since 1994. He was first a teacher, coach, associate principal, and in 2016 was named one of the top 8 in the nation as a finalist for the National High School Athletic Coaches Association, and of course has coached championships in men's cross country, coached women's track as well. So congratulations to Troy, and I think we're very lucky as a district to have, he's going to work with Mr. Coonan as he retires at the end of this school year. So he's very excited to take on that role. And then congratulations to our jazz band. They were at the Iowa Jazz Championships last week, and they had 4 students that were recognized for outstanding solos. Lars Christensen, Eli Smith, William Sims, and Johnny Hartlett were recognized, so congratulations to the jazz band. And this was kind of a neat thing. Orchard Hill Elementary collected cans to help raise money for the Swart Dogs on their trip to the Detroit World Championships. And they collected 19,000 cans, and then the Swart Dogs went and did a whole presentation and demonstration at Orchard Hill last week. So I think that really shows the kind of collaborative nature of all of our buildings and wanting to support one another and things that are going on. So it'll be really neat to see how the Swart Dogs does in the World Championship coming up this month. And just real bits of notice for the community and our parents, a couple of traffic pattern changes. This one's just around the high school as part of 12th Street is closed. You can see in that red spot there is where it will be closed around the high school. And then moving on to Hanson, this is West 4th Street, so getting into Hanson and Holmes will be a little bit different here coming up since that area of the road is closed now. And then upcoming events tonight, we have our all-city vocal concert, and as I say that, this is actually will be shown after that, but you'll still be able to get, so luckily Channel 15 is broadcasting that live, but then we'll show the board meeting following, and then next Monday is the all-city band. We also have our exhibit coming up at the Hearst Center, Developing Expressions. The opening reception is actually this Sunday from 1 to 4, and this is when they show art that's chosen from all the elementary and secondary schools, and then displayed there at the Hearst Center until mid-May. And then we also have those, anyone that's looking to support the Tiger Booster Club, we have the Sturgis Falls Run coming up in June, and you can register online for that, and all proceeds benefit the Booster Club. And then real quick, this just shows a screenshot of our e-newsletter, and if there's anyone that would like to receive it, you can just send an email to me with subscribe in the subject, and we'll make sure that we get you added to that list. And then real quick, this is just our social media stuff once again. Any questions?
Janelle, thank you.
Yes.
Great presentation. Lots of good stuff. Moving on now to item G, the 5-year technology plan update. Brian.
And we're excited to have Brian here. He'll go through. This is an update for all board members. 5 years ago, we undertook a 5-year technology plan, and now this is kind of the second iteration of that. We're excited to be able to see the growth that we've had over the last 5 years, and certainly know the next 5 years are going to be just as exciting. Very lucky to have Brian with us as a district, and certainly here this evening.
Thank you. So again, my name is Brian Unruh, Coordinator of Instructional Technology for Cedar Falls Schools. Excited to be here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity for us to talk about our 5-year tech plan, both kind of looking backwards and then also looking ahead toward the future. With that, I'm just one person, but there's tons of people, and we'll talk about them as we go along, that have had their hands involved in this process, have been a part of making all of the heavy lifting that's happened over the last 5 years, and hopefully a lot of the heavy lifting that's still moving forward, a reality. So. The presentation will kind of be in 2 parts. One will be kind of looking back over the past 5 years, and then as we look forward, and I'll may pause in the middle for questions regarding the last 5 or comments, and then we'll go ahead and look toward the future. So with the 5-year technology plan, I feel like we've been able to build a great foundation so far again, with all of the efforts and energies that people have put into this. As far as the district goes, with the plan, there's been huge areas of growth over the last 5 years as it relates to technology and tech integration. I just highlighted 4 of those, but we could have spent probably hours and hours talking about this. The first one has to do with district supports. So 5 years ago, my position was created, and thank everybody for that one. We also had BITL teams, or Building Technology Integration Leaders. There are teams within each of our buildings, and they do tons of work within their buildings. They've also been integral as part of planning for the next 5 years with our tech plan. Over the last 2 years, we've had technology integration coaches, both at the elementary and at the secondary level. All three of these positions have been new over the last 5 years. With those on there, I just felt remiss not including all the people that work with ITS, with our building techs, and with Shane. None of this happens without them, and then also the teacher librarians, which are also on our BIDL teams, but they are also our front line of support when it comes to work within the buildings. And so, again, it just didn't seem right to not have them a part of the district supports as we look back over the last 5 years. With that, there's a few data points that I thought I'd highlight. The bars on the right side that are a little bit hashed come from a survey that was done in the fall of 2013, so right at the beginning of our 5-year tech plan. And then the bars, the solid bars on the left side, show our current data as it relates. This is our Clarity Bright Bites data. We'll be getting another data point here coming up before the end of the month, and so if we did this presentation a month later, we'd have some new data, but this is good. Again, just to show the trending, again, over the last 5 years of the teachers that report the quality of support instructional technology planning. It's definitely skewing and trending toward the left, which is good. Teacher preparation. We've done a lot of different things over the last 5 years as it relates to technology support, technology integration support, professional development. We've worked with professional development at grade level meetings in the elementaries. We've had district-wide conference-style technology professional development, and also coupled in with other content professional development. The work of our BIDL team, you'll hear them again and again. They provide ongoing support within each of their buildings as needs arise, and also within their plan that they want to try to do is for support within their teachers. We have been able to, over the last 4 years, send just under 150 teachers to different technology conferences, which I think is great. Those are local, state, regional, and some national conferences. We also hosted a Google Summit here, and that was about 4 years ago. So a lot of variety of different opportunities for teachers to gauge and get support. Again, another data point. Just looking at from 2013, the teachers report that their school encourages technology use for teaching and learning. Again, it's good to see that we're trending. The digital learning environment has changed drastically, and that was part of the goal of the 5-year tech plan as we look to increase access to technology from pre-K all the way through 12th grade. And a lot of times we think about the Chromebooks and what's happening at the secondary, but the pre-K through 6th, the elementary side of things, has been involved in the process and the planning all along the way too. We also look at the increased use of hardware, like we just talked about with iPads and Chromebooks, but also software, whether it's Schoology, our student information system, just the overall usage of all of that type of software that supports the instruction and supports the logistics that happen within the classroom has all been on the rise. I could get you data ad nauseum if you wanted that as well. Another data point, students reporting the frequency of computer use in the classroom. Again, I think this kind of reiterates just the type of access difference that's available now versus what it was 5 years ago. And the student learning. So having access to things is great, but how you use it becomes the most important question. And so how is it used for student learning? A couple of pictures here that it goes along with our Google Expeditions sets that we have, our green screens, and lots of different other types of technology that's available through our technology kits that our technology coaches have really been great in getting out and working with teachers. The CAPS program, there's all kinds of connections in relation to technology, whether it's virtual reality. We've had some folks working with that here this year with mixed reality, which is just crazy awesome. And it'll be fun to see the different types of things that are available moving forward with that. We focus on the 4 C's. communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity as it relates to technology use. And we've also had IPIT data that has shown that when technology's been used within the district, that it's been used for higher order thinking. It's not just low level, hey, once you head over there and just practice that on the computer, it's been used for good learning. Some data as it relates to collaboration, again, from 2013, students are asked to collaborate online with classmates, again, trending. Communication, students are asked to receive feedback from others in the classroom. One of the reasons why I like this one too, we might not see a ton of movement on the left side, but to be able to decrease the nevers as I think is noteworthy as well, and just as good. This is also data, the student data is 3rd grade through 12th grade.
Ryan, can you just give a couple examples of what those opportunities would be when they're either collaborating or when they're getting feedback?
Sure, yeah. There's opportunities within, at the secondary level with Schoology, people use different discussion boards. The Google environment that we have, whether it's collaboration on different projects, the feedback from teachers back to students with different versions of writing samples with things. Those would be good communication. Again, those collaboration with Google Docs. I was going to think of the other communication piece that might come to mind. Probably those two are the avenues that we have set up. There's all kinds of other different tools, whether it's Flipgrid, where you're using video feedback, going back and forth and having kids respond back either just auditory or using video with their webcam. So lots of different opportunities. Those are kind of some of the main ones.
Thank you.
Good question. Last one I was going to hit. Oops, wrong button. Let's go back here. Critical thinking. As it relates to students asked to collect and analyze data. Again, trending, maybe not where we want to end up entirely, but again, moving in that direction. That kind of brings the last 5 years into a nice, neat package. Any other questions or comments over the last 5 years?
I think one of the comments that I have is this couldn't have been done, within a singular context. Obviously, we are very fortunate to have CFU here and what they provide for their 1 gig and 10 gig service to us, our district, our community, and that's been a tremendous partnership. And again, the growth where we were at to where we're at now to where the future brings us, which I know will be kind of the part 2 of Brian's presentation, is really exciting. And the whole focus is on student learning. How do we utilize technology for learning to set those conditions for learning for students?
All right. So there's been a lot of hands that have been involved with this process. Our building technology integration leaders have been involved in the process. Cabinet, admin council, our tech coaches. I've met with Shane regarding this plan. So, and I hope I'm not leaving out too many others as we go along, but just different iterations, feedback, process, as far as developing the plan that sits in front of you. There we go. So one of the things is this district, the 5-year tech plan wasn't necessarily just kind of brought up out of thin air. It was, there were components that have been carried over from the current year, the current plan that we're wrapping up, some pieces that people wanted to see continued. So there's parts of this that are part of the current 5-year tech plan. The ISTE essential conditions. ISTE is a national organization for tech integration that really is the forefront, the leader as far as the standards go for teachers, administrators, students. They also have essential conditions that we need to be mindful of so that technology integration can happen effectively within the classroom. So those were considered as we began to look at those different elements that need to be in place for technology integration to be effective. And we also looked at the Horizon report and different research as it related to tech integration. The Horizon report is given out every year, and it kind of puts different trends, a 3-year trend, a 5-year trend on what they're anticipating technology will be the big rocks moving forward as it goes toward kind of implementation within school districts. So what we came up with was the tech plan that I've divided up into basically 3 different parts, and this is just more of an organizational structure than anything. And then from those 3 categories or 3 parts, there's about 4 areas within that those will be our long-range goals. So all these, I consider these our long-range goals. The first set that we look at will be a little bit more of an ongoing operational type goals. Without further ado, maybe we'll start looking at those. So operational goals, these are just those goals that are going to be consistent over time. Again, as we look at the 5-year plan, these aren't going to necessarily change. As we look at policies, we always need to be aware of policies. The network health is an ongoing goal. It's always going to be important. The leadership and vision, again, consistent. And as we look at the appropriate and adequate funding from the district, again, that's a consistent theme regardless of the year. And so that's why these are kind of lumped in and of themselves. The second area is an area that I felt like our BITL teams, our building instructional technology leaders, are going to be more involved in, more integral in the planning. These will involve some annual goals. Again, we're just going to be looking at what's in the plan right now is kind of those 5-year targets, those 5-year stretch goals. Those are divided up into different areas as far as teachers' use of data, the technology scope and sequence as far as where we want to happen when, digital citizenship as it relates to students, teachers, and parents, and then also the use of the 4 Cs by students. 4 Cs, again, being communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. Those higher order types of things. And the last area of the plan, again, is similar to that last, but doesn't necessarily fall quite so nice and neat within one group of people. So there's a lot of people that have their hands in the success and the heavy lifting that is within this section as it regards to continually looking at emerging technologies and what makes sense to implement within our district. Technology professional development, technology support, and also mentoring and monitoring and assessing the plan itself. What I wanted to do was just highlight a couple of things. So as you have that plan in front of you, a couple of highlights that I think were particularly noteworthy that came out of a lot of those discussions that have happened, the K-12 computer science curriculum. And so there's been a lot of movement at the secondary currently and a lot of movement at the elementary behind the scenes as we look to develop and articulate a K-12 computer science thread that will go throughout that we can kind of guarantee that our students have access and availability to these computer science concepts. Right now, there's tons of things that are happening in pockets around, and it depends a little bit on which teacher you are fortunate enough to get. as far as their interest level in some of these resources. It's now just a matter of articulating this, make it more broad, create a floor that we know that every student, regardless of which building or teacher that they're in, that they'll have access to this content. As you get into the secondary, having options and electives that are available makes sense as well. The second piece was around digital citizenship. Again, there's things that are happening, but maybe coordinating things not only for our students, but also our staff and our parents. And so how we can coordinate and provide outreach out to our community, to our parents related to digital citizenship of students. That's an area that's been one that we feel like there's areas of growth that we can do with that and provide some opportunities. The third point is continue the support. None of this happens without the support and professional development of our teachers. I feel like we've been able to provide currently a lot of different varieties of opportunities for teachers to get professional development, and it's just a matter of looking at those and continuing to make sure that people have options and are available to get the different training and supports that they need. And last, exploring the different types of technologies that are available. I just touched a little bit on the mixed reality with virtual reality and the HTC Vive. That's pretty exciting as we look for connections and where it can fit into the classroom, not for the sake of it being cool, even though it is pretty nifty, but where does it support curriculum? Where does it fit in? How does it help visualizing different content and providing an engaging environment for our students? And then Shane's been working hard with our Horizon app as far as virtualizing different software that will broaden the availability of what can be done on the Chromebooks and broaden the capabilities of that device. So lots of neat things, lots of things that have been going on. Again, can't stress again appreciating the heavy lifting that a lot of people have done to add to and tweak the plan as it sits in front of you. Any questions?
Questions for Brian?
Yeah, Brian. Well, first of all, compliments on, I mean, the graphs were all going in the right direction. As you, and I also compliment you, I mean, as far as you've got organizations like ISTE and Horizon, so we could very easily be in our little bubble and think we're doing great, but you need that outside perspective. So the question is kind of along the lines of, and this isn't meant to be negative because it's incredible progress, but as you look at these outside organizations, where does our largest gap exist between what we're doing and what these leading organizations are proposing? Where does our largest gap exist?
That's a great question. Not to be a homer with things, but I mean, I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish, and I'll keep thinking because there's got to be something, right? And I'm not trying to paint everything with rose-colored glasses. Out of the conferences the national conferences that we've been able to send a couple of teachers to, that's one of the things that comes back. I mean, we want people to go to national to be able to see stuff that's happening in different places, and they always bring some things back, but it's always nice to hear as well that they're kind of like, well, gosh, you know what, there really wasn't a whole lot of new stuff, or you know what, it's stuff that we've been talking about, or you know what, I sat in on this session and we've been doing this for a couple of years, and there were so many people that were thinking, oh my gosh, let me learn about this, what are you talking about? And it's almost old hat for some of these folks. And so to me that says that we're on the right track, we're doing the right things, we're looking at the right stuff. I feel like we've maybe been a little bit slow to the game as far as it relates to computer science. in relation to some other districts and other states. I mean, when you look at Iowa, I was just at a Future Ready conference here last week where there's governors from Arkansas and Colorado had come. We had our CAP students presenting at that, and we're invited to go to that, which was an outstanding experience for them with the mixed reality component. But there's other states that are ahead of us as far as computer science requirements, state requirements for graduation, and different components. And I would think that that's a piece that we've deemed to be important, but have slowly gotten it off the ground, wanting to do it in the right way. So maybe in comparison, that might be a piece.
And maybe this helps as far as a slightly different question. Mm-hmm. So as you look at the 5-year plan, what's our greatest challenge?
I think that we do a great job of finding our internal needs and addressing those and supporting those. We have a method for working through and making sure that people are supported. One of the areas that I think is going to be that we have probably a lot to our biggest area of growth is as it relates to bringing things back out to the community, providing resources for the community, for our parents, as it relates to digital citizenship and maybe how they can access and be more in tune with the different resources that are available to the district or from the district for them to be utilized, whether it's through PowerSchool or some of the different resources that are available. I think there's a lot of avenues and opportunities that are available that maybe go underutilized, and so how we can try to make sure that they're as informed and have the resources to be able to utilize those if they want to would be an area that I think that we can continue to do better at.
Brian didn't even mention this in the presentation, but he's really good about using what's called the SAMR model, and it goes, how do you integrate technology? And the very early stages is really just substitution. How do you substitute maybe what you do paper and pencil and use it with technology all the way up to redefinition? And I think one of the greatest challenges is we know we have people on that continuum that are using technology right now for substitution purposes. That's not negative, that's not bad. We just need to continue to move along that continuum to get to redefinition. And you talked earlier about the mixed reality, and we know in one of those next phases, our kids will start creating mixed reality experiences that will be embedded across the state, across the country, could be across the world. And that is so exciting to think about what those next phases are and what the next steps are in association with that. And that truly is redefinition, things we could not do if we did not have that technology in the classrooms.
Brian, you'd mentioned digital citizenship. Do you think that we are including enough time in our curriculum for direct instruction in terms of digital citizenship?
We've got areas, I think, within the curriculum that really address it, and I think what we've also tried to do is incorporate the different pieces of digital citizenship as well as other skill pieces and have them integrated into where it fits in closest to the content. And so I think that's also another piece that I've been most happy with as well too, and not isolating different skills or content as it relates to technology, but where does it fit in with whether it's copyright kinds of things, well in with the English and the paper that they're working on, or if it's safety online in with our counselors at the elementary level, or there's a bunch of different areas where it is integrated in with and reiterated, whether it's a heavy lifting from our teacher librarians, but then it's kind of reiterated back with our classroom teachers, saying the same message but in different formats and different times. I think that we've done a good job with that. There's always room for improvement, and I think as we try to be consistent and go through and try to have that more well-known as far as where things are happening, I think would be a good next step as far as making sure that we don't have any gaps and holes as we look at where those things are happening.
Can I just piggyback on that for just a second? I was going to ask about the digital citizenship and what that encompasses, and I wonder if that includes things like cyberbullying and how do we relate with one another in a digital format?
Yeah, and so I should have this on the tip of my tongue, but I don't. But it's basically you respect and protect yourself, you respect and protect others, you respect and protect others, people's property, and so that's a component of it. Copyright is a piece that's involved in that. Online safety, knowing that you're going to have a digital footprint, but how do you make a positive digital footprint? Not trying to scrub yourself from the internet, that's not going to happen. But what you can do to create a positive digital footprint for you and for others are kind of the big gists that go along with that.
Thank you. We've come a long ways in 10 years. Eric, go ahead.
First, I want to thank you as well for your hard work, Brian, on the development of this plan. This is great work. I'm just curious if you had any opportunities during this process for collaboration with UNI. I didn't notice it in the presentation, but I figured there probably must have been some opportunity for that. So
yeah, and thank you for mentioning that. So I did forget a few people. So we've had representation from within our meetings from the AEA. Michelle Cowell has been a part of kind of the brainstorming and working through this. Jason Vetter, who's been a longstanding member of our district technology committee from the past, was also involved in this process. He wears a couple hats from a parent community member and also from UNI as far as contributing, being a part of that process from our building instructional technology leaders. When it comes to computer science, we've definitely take advantage of some of our resources up at UNI. Ben Schaefer is a great resource up there that we'll continue to lean on as we look to making sure that we're providing well-rounded curriculum for our K through 12. But yeah, most definitely. My master's in educational technology came from UNI, so I still have some connections up there and work with some of the professors as we look to mentor some of their minors in with some of our Biddle team members and the instructional tech coaches too.
Thank you.
So thanks for the reminder.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
What's really neat is I think one of the first times this past year we actually opened up our professional development, and we had staff from UNI that were here for that professional development, and we've had a lot of our staff on campus as well. And I think that's just so exciting to be able to have that resource paired together to maximize learning for kids.
Are there specific opportunities that are going to be available to our students come fall, considering they're looking at registering, especially our secondary students, you know, registration's happening or they're selecting their electives? Will there be specific computer science classes we'll have ready for them this year or not quite yet?
There's currently some courses that are available to them. So it's the elementary elements course is available at the high school level right now. It's a Project Lead the Way course. Next year, our 7th graders will be working with a Project Lead the Way computer science elements. It's kind of a building blocks piece that all 7th graders will be working with. And then at that elements course that's available at the high school now will be available to some students for 9th grade, and then also available for the high school. The other course that's kind of the next step up is the computer science principles course that will be available at the high school starting next year too. So there'll be a couple then. And then you couple that with some of the opportunities that are related to CAPS and the computer science and technology thread that goes in with that, and the opportunities for different different partnerships and projects that we have that have been established through. We've got some awesome businesses in the area that you guys are well aware of that provide different coding and computer science opportunities for kids too. So I'm really excited about the possibilities that students, if they have an interest in it, that I think really could take advantage of and have some really neat experiences through graduation.
Good question. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are a district we are a very fortunate district. If you look across the state or even across the United States, when you think of what we have been able to do, and Jenny, I mean, Dan, we've come a long ways, and it took a lot of hard work and a lot of conversations and a lot of dedication. And I need to thank Doug too, because Doug, you really helped pull it together for us to help us get that initial purchase of computers when we first started 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. 5 years ago. And so thank you for that too. And Brian, you have been a great advocate for just education and technology in our district, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, moving on to item H, to approve the 2018-2019 budget. Mr. Neskar, can I just move right into the motion, or do you want to?
However you want to do it.
Should we move into the motion, and then you can answer our questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the 2018-2019 budget?
I move that the Cedar Falls Board of Education approve the proposed 2018-19 school year budget with a total estimated expenditure at $87,832,174 and an estimated amount necessary to be raised by property taxation, $27,778,452.
Thank you, Jeff. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Doug? Eric.
We'll kind of just want to real briefly go through the budget again for next year so that everybody understands what we're going to be doing here. If we could bring the PowerPoint up, there we go. You can see that this is the breakdown of property tax dollars for next year. General fund is $9.52 in round numbers, and then you can see the instructional support levy, management, the PEPAL funds, and the debt service. So there's the $27,778,000 number, and our total tax rate's $13.94.694 per $1,000 of assessed valuation. Historically, this sort of shows you our property tax rate since the fiscal 2012 school year. You can see that the last 2 years on the right, I'm showing a dashed line with and without the debt service levy, because before this current school year, we did not have a debt service levy. And when you really look at it for the last 5 years, we've really been pretty consistent, not varying. We had 1 year where we dipped below $12.50, 1 year just over $13 per thousand, but overall we've been pretty consistent if you take that by an average. Property tax breakdown, percentage-wise, this shows where the dollars will be going. So for every dollar in property tax monies we receive, you can see almost 57 cents goes for combined district cost, just under 9 cents for debt service, and around the pie chart to sort of show where that's at. But I would remind the board that because of Iowa coding laws and how the combined district cost is determined through the foundation formula and the the great support the community has given the school district for the voted PEPAL instructional support levy and the debt service levy. Really, the board only has control of just under 15% of the total property tax asking for next school year. So with that, one other slide, I apologize. This compares Cedar Falls with other school districts of similar size, and you can see that we fare very, very favorably with a total tax rate, with only one school district in that group of 11 that is under or less than us, and that's only very, very slightly. Property tax asking for an individual homeowner will actually go down for next year. People have sort of asked, how is that possible? Yes, we are asking for just under $300,000 more in property taxes, but it is a combination of the increase in assessed valuation throughout the district, coupled with a decrease in the rollback, and that's the second line that you can see on that slide. And those two items together are what drive the property tax rate, and so that's why the property tax rate for a residential home property will actually be less for next school year than what it is for the current school year. And then you can see other projected residential values based on those property amounts. So here's the budget, then there's and we've had the motion for that, and I would entertain any questions on this part of it.
Any questions or comments for Doug?
So Doug, the rollback, the commercial rollback, and maybe it's just a general question, not just for you, but there's some discussion that may be modified at a state level, and how would that impact our finances?
There's two things that they're talking about. One is the CNI, or our commercial and industrial rollback, and the other thing that they're talking about is the supplemental state aid. When the legislature approves combined district costs, that property tax portion of that increase is picked up by the state of Iowa, not by the local property tax owners. If they change that, obviously the district cannot control the funding formula because that's set by legislation. So that basically means that's going to push more burden back on local property tax owners than it is on the state of Iowa.
So I think the answer is fairly significant, just due to the fact that it's money that is now being backfilled, which was done through, 4 or 5 years ago at the state legislative level. And if those dollars are no longer flowed through the state to the local entities, and in our case the school system, those are dollars that will be generated through local property taxes. If the CNI is rolled back at the 25% per year over the next 4 years, that's a fairly significant amount of dollars that come back onto the property taxpayers locally. And again, that's something that we wouldn't control. That's part of the funding formula, so that would just be added on to, instead of 14.7% that a local board might be able to control, that would actually go down to 13 or 12 or 11, because those dollars would be generated through that combined district cost.
And to give you an example, for next year, we're estimating for CNI payment for the general fund will be just under $482,000. And so if that weans off over the next few years, then those dollars will shift into local property taxes to make that difference up.
Would that affect this budget? Potential? No.
No, what it'll do is it'll be more property tax dollars coming into the district to fund the combined district cost, which would mean property tax rate would more than likely creep up. It depends upon what the assessed valuations do in an individual school district, but all things being static, it would mean an increase, yes.
The intent is not this budget year, though.
But not this budget year. And they will be, this is still in discussion for the next week?
It is.
The legislation?
Correct. The legislative session, I think the 100th day is April 17th, I believe. And what we know is there's not really budget agreement yet on what that's going to look like. So this is in discussion, under discussion, as far as what they're going to do for potential tax relief and or funding sources. There's about a 2-week window where a lot of those decisions are going to be made.
So it'd be best for everybody to contact their
Yes.
Representative.
Advocate for funding and the levels that they had said that they would backfill. And this impacts not only school districts, but counties and cities across the state of Iowa.
Any other?
Yeah, so I know this is another question for something that doesn't impact this year's budget, but seems like a very appropriate time to ask a question about the penny, the SAVE funds that are so important because, for example, an extension of that could significantly lower the burden on our local taxpayers. Is that still passing through the legislature?
Yeah, it's a little slower than what we anticipated. Actually, it is out of the House, was approved in the House, out of the Senate's Appropriations Committee, and out of the full Senate for discussion and decisions. And it looks like the Senate version and the House version are very, very similar. So the hope is, with the support that we have heard is in place in the Senate, that will pass through hopefully the next week or so. You know, as we look at all of the kind of totality of the budget bills, we're still advocating for that heavily because we don't want that to be something that is in spite of something else or in replacement of something else. So I think it's very important to continue to reach out and advocate for that because we know the impact it has locally for us in Cedar Falls.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, Doug. Moving on now to the approval of the 2017-2018 school year budget amendment.
Okay, we've got a couple of slides on that here real quick. Just to remind the board that Iowa Code does allow school districts to amend their budgets for expenditures that were unanticipated when the budget was created. And this revenue or sources of income to cover those expenses need to come from sources other than taxation. So a budget amendment does not mean we're going to change our property tax asking for this current fiscal year. And so if you go to the other slide, we're asking for one change in our amendment, our current school year amendment. And this is for the instruction portion of the budget, and you can see the increase. And this is primarily for technology equipment, and it's like we explained at the last board meeting. The board approved a significant purchase of technology equipment last April or May, if I remember correctly. The intent was that was supposed to arrive in June and come out of the 2016-17 school year budget. It arrived in July. And so that's why we need to make the amendment in that particular area of the budget in order to cover that expenditure. The dollars have been there, it's just that they slid from one fiscal year to another.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the year budget amendment, 2017-2018 school year budget amendment?
I move that the Cedar Falls Board of Education approve the amendment of the 2017-2018 budget year expenditures as follows. For instruction from $42,751,853 to $43,577,509 for the reason of technology, equipment, and staffing.
Thank you, Sasha. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Jeff Orvis. Any other questions or comments?
This is such a hard concept sometimes for people in the public because what we'll hear, which is not reality or it's a falsehood, that we are overspending $800,000 from the budget. No, this is the difference between cash balances and what we set as the budget line. It's dollars that were there, it's dollars that have been there, it's dollars that were there last year, however it falls into this past fiscal year. So it's just a carry forward of dollars to be expended this past year, or this current year, I should say.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on now to the superintendent's report.
Just a couple items. Number one, commencement is May 27th, 2018, and we always ask each year if there's board members that would like to hand out diplomas. We have one tentatively penciled in, which is Jenny Leeper, but certainly want to know if there's another board member that would like to take part to hand out diplomas. It's always a neat honor and an opportunity to hand out diplomas, really on the kind of culminating event of 13 years of educational career for our students. There's a lot of different details with that day. It is the Sunday of the Memorial Weekend, but we don't have to decide right now, but something that certainly we would want anybody that has either ties to this graduating class or just has an interest in handing out diplomas.
Do you have a time for it yet?
You know, I knew you were going to ask that question, and I was going to write that down before I came. I believe we're usually there about 1. We go out, and I think commencement starts at roughly about 2, and I think it ends about 3.
That seems right.
Roughly.
It starts at 2.
Thank you, Arlo. I appreciate that. So, about 1 to 3. Party.
So if you're interested in being a part of that, reach out to Andy if you want to go back and look at your calendars tonight.
It's always exciting. It's always fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Retirement reception. We always hold a reception for those retiring for years of service from our district, and that is May 23rd at 4:15 at Pheasant Ridge. Certainly invite all board members to attend that. It's just, again, another neat event. April 23rd, next board meeting, we'll work on the next 2 chapters of our book study. And then just a reminder, on June 6th, we have the board retreat, admin board retreat from 9:30 to roughly noon on that day.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Been moved by Jeff Haskell. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Susie Hines. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, and we will be moving into a negotiation strategy session at this point.